Good evening, students. Tonight, we will begin our study of microorganisms. Let's begin by categorizing some of the microorganisms we will be studying. First, we have viruses, which are not actually even considered living organisms at all, because they do not meet all 8 requirements of life. Because they are not independent living organisms, they cannot replicate on their own, and instead need to use a living host cell. So viruses are non-living, and because of that, they need host cells to replicate. We'll be studying viruses today in this lecture, so in a moment here we'll dive in and we'll look at some of these examples of viruses. The next category of microorganisms that we will study is prokaryotes. Prokaryotes, as we learned in our previous unit, are unicellular organisms that have no true membrane-bound nucleus or no other specialized organelles. In other words, prokaryotes are prokaryotic. We will study 2 types of prokaryotes, which are bacteria and archaea, in the subsequent lectures. What we'll see when we get to those lectures is that bacteria, you're fairly familiar with bacteria. Archaea, what you see here next to in this picture is actually a hot spring. We'll learn that archaea thrive in extreme environments like this hot spring. The last category of microorganisms are protists. Protists, which are mostly unicellular, but can also be multicellular, are different from prokaryotes because their cells are eukaryotic. In other words, their cells do have a distinct nucleus, and they do have other specialized organelles, making these protists more evolutionarily complex than prokaryotes. Okay, now that we've introduced these 3 categories of microorganisms, let's look more closely at our first category, which are the viruses. Let's begin by defining the term virus. A virus is a strand of hereditary material surrounded by a protein coating. In other words, although it has hereditary material in the form of DNA or RNA, it is not a cell. It has no cell membrane, no nucleus, and no organelles. It is simply DNA or RNA, some kind of hereditary material, wrapped up in a coat of protein. In the same way that a jelly donut is jelly wrapped up in dough. Because these viruses are not cells, they are considered non-living. You can see some examples of the wide variety of viruses that exist by looking at the diagrams included on this slide. You'll notice that the protein coats of viruses cause them to vary in size and shape. So for example, if we're looking at this influenza or flu virus, you'll notice the proteins cause it to be spherically shaped and kind of spiky looking, whereas if you compare that to this rabies virus here, its protein coat causes it to be more cylindrical. Since so many infections are caused by viruses, from everything from the measles to the common cold to HIV and other sexually transmitted diseases, we are going to spend some more time learning exactly how viruses work on the next few slides. We've already mentioned that because viruses are non-living, they require a host cell in order to replicate themselves. A host cell is a living cell in which a virus can actively multiply, or in which a virus can hide until it becomes activated. To understand this, it is helpful to keep in mind that viruses, in this case, are very secretive, like stealthy terrorists. When viruses, like the ones shown in this picture, right there, when they invade a host cell, which in this diagram, this here would be the host cell, what they do is they actually invade and hijack the host cell's regular proteins and regular cellular machinery. And the viruses use the host cell's machinery to its own benefit. And this is often before the cell even recognizes that there is a problem occurring, that it has become a host cell. And as we'll see, just as terrorists cause destruction, viruses can destroy their hosts in their quest to continue replicating. So, what kinds of organisms which kinds of organisms have cells that can serve as host cells for viruses? The answer is really all kinds of organisms can be infected by viruses. So this means that animals, and this is not just humans, but everything from whales to foxes to birds to insects can host viruses. But also things we don't think about as often, plants can get viruses. So many types of, you may have heard of different viruses that trees can get. Fungi can get viruses. And even, believe it or not, single-celled organisms like protists and bacteria can be infected by viruses. There are literally millions of kinds of viruses out there in the world. And they all need some kind of host cell to work. Now, before you get too anxious about that fact, let's make clear that most types of viruses can only infect one type of host cell. In other words, not all of the millions of types of viruses out there can use human cells as host cells. In most cases, one type of virus matches only one type of host. So why is this? The reason for this is that the virus and the attachment sites on the host cell must match exactly, like two puzzle pieces fitting together or like a key fitting into a lock. So, for example, a virus such as the bacteriophage, which is actually, you can see that here, this very creepy looking virus is called a bacteriophage. And it is attaching itself to its designated host type, which are bacteria, bacterial cells. This bacteriophage cannot infect human cells or elm tree cells or snail cells. It only can attach to and infect bacterial cells. So you never have to worry about getting a bacteriophage infection. A bacteriophage does not match your cells the way it matches bacterial cells. Furthermore, let's take another example. There's such thing as the potato leaf roll virus, which you can see up here. These are actually potatoes. They're cut open so you can see how they have been infected by this potato leaf roll virus. If you eat this potato, you're not going to get infected with this virus. You might get a little sick, maybe the potato will taste bad, but it's not as if you will contract potato leaf roll virus. Potato leaf roll virus will not enter your cells. It can't use your cells as hosts. The only type of cells that it can use as a host are potato cells. Okay, so that's a little introduction to viruses for tonight. Next time, we will take a look at the steps that viruses go through to infect and hijack a host cell. See you then!